Hello, hello, hello world. This is Shruti Pandey, and today on itishruti we have someone very, very special. A legendary tester is how I look at her and see her and view her. So please join me in welcoming Lisa Crispin. Lisa,
Thank you, Shruti. It's wonderful to be on your podcast. I'm quite honored to be a guest. So,
I'm quite honored you said yes. It's so good to see you. I mean, I'm pretty sure um, if there are too many brainiacs here, or non-brainiacs here, or non-tech people who are listening to you, if I'm pretty sure they'll understand everything. If they don't, the one thing they will take from you is your infectious energy and positivity. I'm quite sure that's like one thing that they'll take for sure. I'm so
well,
so
and where anybody who's using a computer is technical. So there's just different degrees of which skills you have, and they're all good. So,
I mean, I know you, looking at your LinkedIn profile, we can all calculate and do our math and see the numbers, but you have been in the software business, like we were talking a little earlier, way, way before, like 4 decades or so.
yes,
What's
more than
can,
41 years since I
would
started
you
as
like
a.
to share something about that? 41 years, oh my God.
It's been interesting to see the industry evolve. Obviously, the technology has changed a lot. Although I have to say, back in 1982, people were talking about AI.
Yeah.
And would it take our jobs? And it hasn't happened yet. But and just seeing the software industry as a profession, being a software developer or engineer has risen in status and the pay has risen. When I joined, there were lots of women because it was a low pay, low status job. And then once the hardware was no longer the glamorous career, the software became more important. We had to have good applications and good software. And so sadly, as the salaries went up, like a lot of professions, fewer women were hired. But I see a lot of change now, especially in the testing world, and it's wonderful nowadays when I go to a testing conference and see so many women sharing their experience and expertise, and it's great.
I think some things don't change. When you said that there weren't many women, it reminded me of my time. I mean, I started much, much late compared to you, 2011, but still, I would find hardly one female tester in the team if you're supposed to code, if you're supposed to automate. But if you have a manual team of, let's say, 20, 30, then there will be a good number of female testers. And I think I'll jump into that question also to understand more from you about these demographics, but not taking away from the fact that you've been in the software business for so long. You also moved on to becoming a tester during 1995. Is that correct?
The early 90s, yeah. It's a good story. So, my early career as a software tester, I started out working at the University of Texas as a programmer trainee, and we had a great education program. We all learned to code the same way, which is very helpful because then you can work on each other's code. Very collaborative. I think now I would look back and say, well, that was fairly agile because we worked directly with our end users. We actually sat down with them and it's like, is this what you want? Is this what you want? And even taught some of them to use some of the tools to create their own forms and apps and stuff. So, but I later worked for a software company in tech support. And this is I started there in the mid 80s when we were still sending our product out. It was products for big mainframe computers, mainly a database product. We were sending them out on tapes and, releasing maybe once a year, twice a year, but also fixes throughout the year, sending out the tapes. And we were answering the phone from our customers. There was no fax, there was no email.
Right.
And we'd get these irate customers who would call and say, I can't believe you didn't notice this terrible bug. Because they just installed the latest release or the latest patch.
Right.
And it was really embarrassing for us, right? We hadn't seen the software any sooner than they did. So none of us had even really heard about testing before. We were all programmers. And so we asked the developers we were in Colorado in the United States, and they were in Germany mostly. And we said, is there any chance that you could send us the tapes maybe at least a week before you send them to customers?
Right.
Maybe not the final thing, but an early release so that we can install it and just see if we see any problems. And they're like, oh, that's an interesting idea. So we started doing that. And then at least when the customers called and we're all angry, we say, well, don't worry, we know about it. We'll have a patch to you, next week. And so that was just a better experience for them. And our managers were like, testing. It just hadn't occurred to anybody. I know it's hard to believe now. So they decided to form a new team for doing testing and for managing the releases and so on. So of course I put my hand up. That sounds fun. So it was great because I not only started to learn about testing, but I got to really get into, other platforms. Like I was working on IBM mainframes up to that point. I got to learn about VAX VMS, Unix, Wang, all kinds of OS2, all kinds of operating systems, and learning a lot of system admin skills because we cut the tapes and we did all the things. So that was just an interesting change in my career, and I found that I enjoyed testing a lot more than I enjoyed programming, but testing was it was just different, and I really enjoyed it, being able to sort of be an advocate for the customers and do what I could to help customers solve their problems.
I can still see that same. I think you really took me back to that time when you did all of that, like the mid-80s, and it wasn't very hard to imagine the tapes. I mean, initially it was when you started telling the story, but yeah, that's how we evolved, right? Like there was a time when hard drives, Bluetooth, USBs, and so many different things. And way before that, we had those floppy disks and like crazy evolution of technology and how we have come this way. And I'm glad that you also mentioned about AI, because AI has been that ghost which has been every time and again. Oh, this will take away your job. That will take away your job. But I love the fact that you got into the software business. You understood programming, you taught programming, you were very agile, you moved to tech support, you started off the testing thing. Lisa, what are you, man? Seriously, this is so amazing. And just I don't want to drag this question or section further, but what has kept you going with this energy? Like, what has kept you going all these years? It's not difficult to find somebody like that. God bless you, like touch wood, really. But what has kept you going?
I mean, I think part of it was good luck. Part of it is I love learning new things, and I could see that would be good for my career if I put my hand up and said, I'll do that, I'll try that, And back then when I first started, for a long time, it was just I needed a job. I had horses and they were expensive to keep. And I needed a salary, and that was a good salary. Even at the beginning, it was kind of low, but it got better. And I was just making a living. And there was some point where I thought, well, what else might I like to do? And I realized how much I enjoyed it. But I was just super lucky to work on really good teams at really good, environments with really healthy, psychologically safe culture where learning was encouraged and failure was seen as learning, and just very lucky to get to work in organizations like that for the most part.
Not taking away from the amazing places, but since you mentioned your horses, I really feel like asking, like, did they also keep you going? For the very fact that you loved them, you had to take care of them, or
it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because a couple of weeks ago I was watching a program, a BBC program called Country File, and they were doing a report on a farm in England where they do equine therapy, and of course I've heard about this before, but equine therapy is very helpful for people with mental health issues, for kids with neurodiverse issues like autism. There's something about the horse-human connection and the sensitivity of horses. That I had an instructor, a horse trainer who worked with veterans who had PTSD, and she had a horse that had PTSD, and it was just somehow magical the way that animal-human bond and needing to have that mutual trust really helps people. And I think the fact that I had horses all my life really helped my mental health, because I do have a bad problem with anxiety. And I look back and think, if I hadn't had horses and now I have donkeys, same kind of thing, what would I'd have just been, I don't know if I would have succeeded at anything. So again, just lucky that I was horse crazy and had the opportunity to
I would,
indulge that
I
love.
would,
So
I would say, don't be so modest. You've got all the horsepower. So I want to understand one more thing from you, which is you started your own, little bit of setups, little bit of organizations, fellowship programs, training. When and what made you really decide that you should start something of your own?
Well, it's interesting. I've always been happiest working as part of a team, building something together. That's my sweet spot. But even early on, I can remember when I was a programmer trainee, reading the manuals that were available back then to try to learn how to do something. And I thought, when I grow up, I'm going to write better instruction manuals. I'm going to help people learn. And actually, at my first job there, I like, after 1 year, I became head of the education program within the department, because I was so interested in helping people learn about it. And so that's, over the years, I've just been interested in, I started speaking at conferences so I could go to conferences, and because I couldn't afford it otherwise. And that led me to try to research what's the best way, to facilitate a workshop and design a workshop so people really learn. And I found things like Sharon Bowman's training from the back of the room and other techniques on how we learn, how our brains work, helping other people learn. And I found that, we all have to share our ideas. I'm trying to pay back everything I've learned from everybody. Starting a company, we started the Agile Testing Fellowship, I don't know, quite a few years ago now, with Jose Diaz and Janet Gregory. And I have to say, they had to kind of drag me into that, because I'm not a business person. I'm not an entrepreneur. And, all the administration that goes into it and all the detail that goes into it in the marketing and sales, I'm not strong with that. But having partners, it's just like pairing or ensemble programming. You have other people with diverse skills and they can carry those other things. And it's been really exciting to develop our courses and then see our training providers all over the world, share that knowledge and help people learn about holistic testing and how it applies in different ways. And so, yeah, it's super rewarding. It's not, and sharing our experiences in the books, same kind of thing. It's like Janet and I were like, we've been on teams and we know a lot of people on teams that we've met at conferences and in the community. We've run into these problems. They were similar problems. We solved them in similar ways. Let's share that information so the new people starting out don't have to worry about those problems, because there are going to be new problems to solve. So we're going to need time. So let's share the information how to solve these problems, and then we can continually move on. And that was our motivation for writing the books. So, we didn't do it for the money, that's for sure. But it's been really rewarding to have people come back to us and say, oh, that helped me so much. And that was our goal. So we hope to keep doing that.
I hope when I grow older, I still have same passion for anything at all. In general, I think that strive, that passion, it's so missing these days from the planet. Like, you can buy everything, but yeah, we can buy so many licenses, open source licenses, this, that, crazy stuff. But passion is something which is really internal.
But there are people like you who do these wonderful podcasts, again, that share all these ideas. I listen to podcasts all the time. I've learned so much through podcasts, and even changing my career direction years back in the process. Probably it was 2017, maybe. I heard Angie Jones on Joe Colantonio's Test Guild podcast, and she was talking about how she tested a machine learning application. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And I didn't really know about data science. And I ended up starting to learn about that. And the next job I had, I kind of got more, I worked for a company that was producing a product that used machine learning, and it just kind of led me down a whole different path because I listened to that podcast. So yeah, it's really great that people put those ideas out there for us to be inspired.
So I understand there is, cultural and geographical differences between you and I, where we come from, where we are from. But suddenly while having this conversation, I got reminded that it was definitely your LinkedIn post where you mentioned about, getting into freelancing projects or something. There literally was a post about maybe a year or a couple of months ago. And it blew my mind because I was like, she is such a legend. She has had so many tons of years of experience, and still she has that, audacity of putting something out like that. I mean, freelancing, when I started it about almost a year and a half or almost 2 years back, it wasn't a very easy decision. Maybe I don't have horses and donkeys, still I have things to take care of, and it gets very, very scary given the time. It's all pandemic and everything. Like, are you never afraid of anything at all? Like, how have you been going this positively? I really want to understand what's that secret. I'm going to get it out.
Well, as I say, my happy place is working on a team, building something together, and being able to work collaboratively. The last team where I worked full time, we did ensemble programming and pairing, and that was just a wonderful way to work, and I learned so much. But at the same time, I've been working a long time, and I was getting burned out, not from my team, but just from corporate America and the toxicity of it. And I'm a certain age, and really what freed me up was, in the United States, we have to work for a company to get health insurance because it's very expensive to have it on your own. But I got old enough for Medicare, and Medicare is great. So that freed me up, without the expense of medical insurance, I could, and I'd saved enough money over the years that I could take the chance of going freelance, having some more free time, being able to pursue things I didn't have time for before, like, contributing to open source projects and things like that. So it's just, it's almost like a semi-retirement. I still keep very busy, but it's not a full-time job. And, I work on our training business, our Agile Testing Fellowship. I do a lot of writing. I do a little consulting and training, and it's plenty it doesn't make me a lot of money, but it keeps me busy, and it keeps me giving back to people. And part of the reason, I just think the tech economy right now is very difficult for freelancers. Everybody I talk to is having similar issues, and it'll turn around someday. But yeah, I'm just happy to have time to do all these things, and I'm still overwhelmed with all these things I want to learn. Still not enough time.
What a great learner you are. And that doesn't really sound like a semi-retired person. You have so many things on your plate. And I also read so much of your writings that you put about continuous delivery, agile, and all of those amazing circles and drawings and pictures that you have. I think that's really helpful. I don't find many people doing that, and it's amazing. And while we were initially talking about the ratio of females and different things that we have seen over the years in technology, I had my last question around something around this. And while we also, always had this amazing, amazing debate of developers versus testers, no matter how much you don't want to have it, there is still something like that. Or there is, okay, male versus female and whatever, different kind of things. But keeping all of that aside, I really wanted to ask you my final question, which is, how has support been for you from other fellow female testers?
Oh gosh, it's just been life-saving. I tell you, just the community of women in testing is just, they're just so helpful. And so people I've met over the years at conferences and online and in Slack workspaces, there's always somebody I can reach out to, either with a technical question or just saying, oh my God, I'm having a terrible day. Somebody give me a virtual hug. And yeah, no one, and reading about other women's experiences, and it's like, wow, yeah, I can identify with that, or, oh, that's terrible that that would happen to somebody. And, what can we do to influence change? So just inspiration, support, fun, things like at the Agile Testing Days conference, the younger women had the idea to start a new thing called the ball gown breakfast. And so one day during the conference, they come to breakfast wearing beautiful ball gowns and tiaras, and it's amazing. So just having people think of so many ways to put fun into our lives and share that. It's been really, really great.
So do you see that number is increasing, like the number of females in technology and the support over the years, or is it like really the same?
I think it's finally starting to turn around. I don't have any hard numbers on that, but just on my experience, from the late 90s through the 20 teens, the teams I worked on were, often I was the only woman, or there were one or two other women. It started to get better around, 2016 or so. It started to have more women developers on the team I was on. And like my last job, we had a few women developers. I've just seen a lot more, and I've started, like I say, at conferences, I see a lot more. I see a lot more women being invited to do keynotes and workshops, where before they were just overlooked. It's still a long ways to go. I mean, if you'd asked me back in 1982, how will a woman be, 40 years from now, I would have thought all the problems would be solved. We haven't made as much progress as I hope, but we have made progress. And so we just have to keep seeing how we can, I'm kind of an old cynic now, but I still feel like we can all have an influence, and we should keep trying to do that and support each other in that.
It's getting harder as the days are passing by, because there are so many different hashtags, issues, and problems to be solved. It's really getting difficult, but because sometimes you need to find, right, what is really the actual real cause to be standing up for. Sometimes it's just so much of noise and echo and marketing. Let's put it that.
Yeah, you definitely have to pick your battles, and see where you have an idea that you can do some good.
Oh, I really, I can't tell you. I haven't felt this happy. I'm so sorry. I hope other guests who have come before you are not listening to this, because I really felt so happy talking to you. And it's been a while that I genuinely felt so happy. So thank you so much, Lisa. And if you feel, Shruti, I actually wanted you to talk about this thing or ask me something about this, which I've missed, or anything at all, please, please, the stage is all yours. You can share.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Just anybody who wants to get in touch with me, if you go to lisacrispin.com, there's a contact page, and you can contact me. You can book a video chat with me with my Calendly link. So I love talking about testing. So get in touch with me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter, Mastodon, Blue Sky. And because I'm not on a team anymore, I welcome opportunities to talk with people. I mean, this is a podcast interview, but it would be fun just to get to talk with you. And that's always inspiring, and just, energizes everybody to be able to have human contact, right? So yeah, welcome chatting with anybody if you have any questions. And then our agiletestingfellowship.com website explains our training courses, but most excitingly, the newest book that Janet Gregory and I have written together, called Holistic Testing, Weave Quality into Your Product, that's available as a free ebook. So you just go to the website and you can download it. We don't even ask for your email. And because we just wanted to explain our idea and our model and share that information with the world. So that's how we've shared it. So yeah.
That's amazing. You and Janet are doing some great work there, really. And given, while we talked about the entrepreneur or freelance situation, I don't want to miss out on the fact that, even the job situation for employees is not that
Yes,
clean, right?
it's really
So
hard.
any parting thoughts or any advice for those people, because even they are not, in a hunky-dory state, like they also have a sword on their head and they are also worried about, okay, do we have this job, do we not? Because you never know what happens. The amount of uncertainty has risen. So, any message, any advice for people?
Well, one thing that helped me very early in my career is one of my teammates said, job security is all in your head. If you believe you can get another job, you're not going to worry. And that was one of the things that sparked me to do as much learning as I could on my own and keep improving my skills, because we have so many great resources out there now, that even free ones like Test Automation University and a lot of the Ministry of Testing content, a lot of the webinars available. Just keep improving your skills, and then you know that you're going to have a better chance of getting whatever job you want. I know it is harder. It is harder in this economy right now. And I would just encourage people to support each other, build your network. I feel like the best jobs always come from your network. And so do what you can, join meetups, get on LinkedIn, get on social media, and make friends and support each other, because that's how we can help each other forward. It's a scary time. So, but just keep learning. I know it's hard. Some people are parents, or they're taking care of a parent, or, there's a lot of reasons people may not have time to do that learning on their own. So that's a tough thing, but just, keep looking for help, keep asking for help. It's hard to ask for help, and keep doing it.
You really are amazing, Lisa. Thank you so much for giving me your time today. I really can't thank you enough. I hope you visit India someday, and I would love to host you or treat you for a meal or something. Yeah.
Oh, that would be so nice. That would be such a great experience. So, and thank you for your podcast and all you do for the community.
Thank you so much.
Definitely my pleasure.